This was about 19, I'd say this was about 1974, 74-ish. I was about 11 years old, and this is on a Sunday, and we was all on the front porch at Grandma's over here in Maineville, Ohio, Warren County. Like I said, I was about 11, 1974, and Grandma, Mom, and Dad, there was a bunch on the porch. They mentioned Charles Manson, and I didn't know who he was. I remember my dad telling me, Greg, why I'm pausing here, I'm trying to talk without the traffic. I'm slightly pausing and let the cars go by me. Anyway, my dad told me to go in the backyard and play. Now in 1974, 1974, you obeyed your parents. There was no back talk or nothing. But what I did a little different when he told me that, I got around the edge of the house and stopped right out of the line of sight, right out of his line of sight, and I stopped, and I was wanting to listen to what they was going to talk about, because I didn't know who Charles Manson was. Well, I found out in a graphic way. Just only the blood, the stabbing, the murders. It was. Here I'm 11 years old. It's 1974, 5 years after the Tate murders, and I was learning about it. Well, was that shocking? I stood there probably 5 minutes, didn't move a muscle. I was wanting to listen. I didn't want my dad to hear me. I did obey him. I did eventually get to the backyard, but I listened to him. Right out of line, they couldn't see me. I went around to the left side of the house. Just as I got around the edge of the house where he couldn't see me, I stopped and listened because I was just curious. I was wondering. So that's the first time I've ever heard of graphic, cold-blooded murders. And it was much worse than any movie I've ever seen. And hearing that was pretty rough. But they talk. When I eventually walked away, they were still talking about it. It was just too much for me to handle. I remember them talking about all the stabbings and the Folgers girl. She was caught in the backyard. They stabbed her to death. They just stabbing. Tex Watson. He shot one of the guys, come out to his car 4 times. Just brutal murders. Here I'm 11 years old. It's 1974. 5 years after the murders. The murders happened August 8th and August 9th, 1969 in California. 5 years later, I'm sitting on the porch with my family on Grandma's front porch. It's a summer of 1974. My dad tells me to go in the backyard and play, but I disobey him a little bit. I stop just out of line of sight by the house, and I listen to the horror graphic And it just, oh boy, I had to walk away because they was talking about all the blood, the stabbing, but it's the first time I've ever heard of a code world, the cruel code world. That's the first time I've ever really heard about it. And there's a bee going around me. I had to watch him. But I'll never forget that. I wish now I hadn't stopped and learned it later on in life. But it just, man, boy, when my dad talks about something, he really tells everything he's heard on the news. He doesn't leave nothing out. So I heard that. It was bad.